And also, we want to take time to welcome back Drew Allen. He's Vice President of Client Development there for Publius PR. He's the author of a fascinating book called America's Last Stand. Will you vote to save or destroy America in 2024? That's kind of over now, but hey, there's a lot in there. And he's a widely published columnist and host of the popular Drew Allen podcast. You can go to drewallen.substack.com and check out all of that. That's drewallen.substack.com. Brother Drew, good to see you, bud. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be with you. I'm good.
Happy New Year, buddy.
Thank you, thank you. I've got a new girl here that was born on the 10th. So yeah, two daughters. One's 22 months old, and then the Hazel Lee, my new daughter, the most recent addition to the family. She joined us on the 10th of this month. So we're doing well. A little tired, but we're doing well over here.
You're not getting much sleep there, Dad?
More than Mom, so I can't complain.
Okay. All right, good to see you. Thanks for your time, buddy. Hey, what did you think of President Trump's speech before the World Economic Forum yesterday?
Well, it was so refreshing because you have somebody who is speaking exactly, I mean, he's exactly what we wanted in this country. And actually, the world is desperate for more Trumps. But no, I mean, he sat there and he's not going to be, you know, an accessory for the World Economic Forum. He's not going to sit there and be a mouthpiece for other people's needs and desires and movements. He's going to push back. And actually, I thought the photo of it was quite apropos because, you know, you had all of these leaders seated there and they looked tiny and minuscule on the stage. And then Donald Trump in the background on that giant screen towering over these world leaders that will no longer be permitted to take advantage of America or Americans.
Well, I sent a clear message. We'll see what happens. Do you know if this Davos group, they're just, you know, I understand they're a bunch of elite world people and big government people and, of course, big corporation people. Do they have any power?
Yeah, they have a ton of power, and most of it's behind the scenes. I mean, obviously, in this modern era, you can kind of see who they are. It's not as secretive maybe as it once used to be, but of course they have power. It depends on who's in the White House, right? I mean, the World Economic Forum had a ton of power when it came to Joe Biden, the zombie, being in office, because these are the people with the money that are trying to shape society, the globalists, and yeah, absolutely they have power, immense power.
Do you think this president's speech had any impact on him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the effect would have been the same had he given the speech or not. But he made it clear he's meeting the expectations. All these world leaders know that Trump is not to be messed with. And he made that clear as well. Hey, I'm Trump. I'm the alpha. You guys, you know, aren't going to influence me unless I want to be influenced, unless I think it's a good idea. But basically, you know, we're out. It's like, hey, you know, did you see me sign that executive order? You know, we're out of the World Health Organization, baby. We're out of the Paris Accords, baby. All these things that you love and think that we should be a part of, I've already ripped to shreds.
Okay, let me move over to some other things. As we speak today, Drew, plane loads of hardcore illegal criminals are leaving the country. This is pretty amazing. The images of this is really quite stunning, and they're being loaded up in military aircraft and carried off. Where do they go? Are they going to get clearance to bring bad people back to a country?
Well, if they reject these individuals, then there will be hell to pay for these countries with Trump in charge. And I think we're doing a courtesy. I mean, think about how generous we are. The cartels didn't treat these people this way. You know, they took their children and sold them into sex trafficking rings. They made them do terrible things. They had to walk across the desert. But here we are spending our money, flying them, families together, by the way. We are not separating families. We are taking all of you, and we are generously flying you back to where you came from.
Okay. Another thing happened yesterday. It's kind of got my brain on tilt. You have any idea why President Trump revoked the security clearance of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he views it as an unnecessary expense at this point. I mean, a lot of that stemmed from threats from Iranians and so on and so forth. I think that he believes that it's not necessary. I think there's a little bit of, screw you to it as well. I mean, these people are viewed by many as traitors in the past administration. You know, Mike Pompeo maintains a certain reputation the way he presents himself as an admirable and respectable person, but he's anything but actually when it comes to behind the scenes behavior, because for example, he's the one that has interfered during the last Trump administration, even when it came to the JFK files that were now Trump is declassifying. He said, no, you can't do that. So these people were you just have to understand power dynamics in this world, and everyone's familiar with it. Everyone's the alpha, everyone's important. You get a lot of attitudes in there, and they don't like that Trump, is bossing them around. Who is he to tell me what to do? He's the president of the United States. I'm Mike Pompeo or whatever. But I mean, I don't think there's anything to flip out about. I think it's interesting though that the media is going to pay a lot of attention to the revoking in Mike Pompeo's case, but when it came to RFK Jr., right? When they dragged their feet to give him any kind of Secret Service details he was running for president, they had nothing to say. They cheered it.
To that point, the president has now made the decision to declassify records of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., John Kennedy, and Robert F. Kennedy. Why is this so controversial?
Well, I think it's controversial because most people accept at this point that the CIA was actually involved in his assassination, that we were fed a lie and it was a big cover-up by our government. And I mean, look how the fabric of our society, the foundation, has been shaken over the revelations that, the Biden administration colluded with Facebook and these social media companies to reelect him. There's all sorts of things out there. COVID, those origins and how we were involved in creating that. I mean, there's all these things out there. Even January 6th, what was the involvement of, Nancy Pelosi and these other people in creating the circumstances by which they could actually, I mean, what kind of government would do that, right? What kind of government would want to create the image of an insurrection, right? That's scary stuff. So I think this is one of those sacred cows of the U.S. government. We pride ourselves on being morally superior to most other nations. And while I believe we are absolutely the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we have done immense good for the world, and I'm proud to be American, certainly there are things our government has done that are abjectly wrong and evil, and I think that this is going to reveal that. At a bare minimum, Perry, it's going to demonstrate that they lied to us for decades.
Ratcliffe got sworn in, head of the CIA, finally got through the system. He's now head of the CIA, and his #1 agenda announced today was to get to the bottom of the cause of COVID. Of all the things the CIA to look at, why do you think that's #1?
Well, I think that's the JFK assassination of our time in terms of what it represents. This is, well, I have not. It's easy to forget and move on, but I try to remind myself not to do that, because we lost a year of our lives in many cases, depending on where you lived. I mean, Oregon, California, these liberal states. I mean, it was hell on earth, not because of COVID, but because of the response by the government. And people still have not recovered. They've lost their businesses. Children have committed suicide. We've lost so many people to the ill effects of the policies that were, implemented to combat COVID, which they knew. I mean, the whole thing was a big scam in many ways. Not that COVID didn't exist, but that pretty much everything surrounding it was untrue. And, you had Fauci, of course, in the beginning, who lied. It was his research that was responsible for helping create COVID. Against the better wishes of his predecessors and other people in the U.S. government, this gain-of-function research. And he deliberately went to National Geographic and others and put this tall tale out there that, hey, this came from bat soup in the wet market. This was, there's a lab in Wuhan, China that does gain-of-function research on bats with coronaviruses, but it came from the wet lab accidentally, the wet market down the street when someone bit into a bat for lunch. I mean, this is the kind of craziness we dealt with. And so I think it's very important that we get to the bottom of this, because we One of the objectives of Trump, one of the reasons he was elected, is to root out corruption in the U.S. government. And I think that COVID represents, in a perfect way, that very corruption.
Do you think, even though Fauci's been given a preemptive pardon, do you think anything will come of him? I mean, can they get him? Can a state get him?
Yeah. I mean, these are, the pardon from the president, is related to federal, crimes. So you can bring certain civil suits and so on and so forth. I don't know how effective that'll be. I mean, this is in many ways uncharted territory. We haven't seen this type of behavior before. I mean, yeah, Nixon was pardoned. That's a very, very different circumstance. But what Joe Biden's done with these preemptive pardons of family members and Fauci and Milley, of course, all people who are guilty of crimes, I think that it's imperative that we don't let it go, whether, some people get the justice they believe is deserved and warranted, which is putting these people in prison for the rest of their lives. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. But I think that there's an opportunity now to drag these people before Congress and have them testify under oath. I think that's an important thing to do, to continue these investigations. I mean, we know what Milley did. Milley committed treason. That's not hyperbole. I know that's a serious word. The left likes to throw things around all the time so that it becomes meaningless. This person's a Nazi and Mussolini and Hitler and totalitarian and dictator, and it means nothing. But when I say treason, I mean it sincerely. That's what Milley was involved in. I mean, he actually testified before Congress and did not lie, and he admitted that. He contacted his counterpart in China in the military and said, hey, if Trump does anything aggressive, I'm going to give you advance notice. That's treason.
Wow. All right, let me take a quick break. A couple of things here. Go to drewallen.substack.com. That's where you can check out all the things that he's up to in his podcast and his books. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Always an honor to have with us Drew Allen. Check out his podcast and, of course, check out his website, drewallen.substack.com. Lots to talk to him about. He's well-informed. He's well-published, and he's all over the place. Drew, given the fact we came through an amazing election cycle, so many things to comment on that. At the end of the day, Trump's reelected. The so-called legacy media is taking a pretty big blow. What's left of the left?
There's not much, actually. Honestly, they're facing extinction over the next 4 years. And that's a good thing, of course, for the country. But, some of the big A-listers are moving to midnight spots. I think it's Acosta. I might have the propagandists wrong. They're all the same, really. But with all these shakeups happening, and we know their numbers are abysmal and dismal indeed. And as Elon Musk is really pushing this idea that we are the media now, and of course he wants X to grow, so he wants everything to happen there. But it's true, they have no power anymore, and this is really important, actually, Perry, because the media, of course, has been trending in this direction for a while, but over the last 4 years, it's picked up steam, and that's great because they were effective in 2016 during Trump's first term. I mean, they're the ones who pushed the Trump-Russia collusion lie, and that was believed by enough people, even Republicans in Congress and the House and Senate, that they sabotaged Trump's agenda. They held it up for a long time because, they were just waiting for the investigation, the Mueller investigation to be done, only to find out, of course, that there was no Trump-Russia collusion. It was a DNC, a Hillary Clinton, Obama, deep state hit job. So yeah, no, it's a wonderful thing. But there are certain. I'm not defending the legacy media the way it was, because the problem with the media, right? I mean, it's the same as the problem with government and everything else. It depends upon moral human beings who hold themselves to a high standard and resist, corruption, temptation, and so on and so forth. And obviously, the media became wholly corrupt. They were just a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party and status quo. But, the issue now with, anybody can effectively be a journalist, and I think that's a good thing. But there are some challenges with that, too, because now people are going to have to, like viewers, people who are consuming this media, they're going to have to use a little bit more discretion of their own, because there's going to be, it's not filtered anymore. But a lot of that stuff that's coming out is going to be knee-jerk reactions. There's a certain rush. Things have opened up, so there's at least the hope or opportunity for would-be journalists to get ahead, and so it kind of pushes this. It's not novel, but it pushes this urge to be the first to say something, not necessarily to be correct. And I've seen that a lot. We saw that with information that came out, right? I remember on New Year's Day, here we were celebrating the new year, and there were 2 terrorist attacks, essentially. You had the individual from Texas who was Muslim, and he mowed down, 30-plus people, killed them in New Orleans there. And there was misinformation right away that, he was came across the border illegally. It turned out he was born in Texas, so he wasn't an illegal. And then we had the blown up Cybertruck right outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, and the same thing was true there. Everybody was rushing to try and get viewers and people to watch them, and you couldn't determine what was real. So so that's just something to be aware of.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: during the inaugural speech of President Trump, I think for about 15 minutes we were all cringed. Is he really saying this in front of 3 sitting presidents? He's basically pointing the finger, and they're only 3 feet away from him. What was your take of that speech?
Trump's inauguration speech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought it was one of the best given in our history. I actually went back, Perry, and I read the transcript as well. And here's my take. It felt like a dopamine injection. Like for 4 years, and every time under Democrats, we're told what a terrible, awful country we live in. We're told that we don't deserve the best. They talk about slavery as some kind of original sin. It's all just, you should feel guilty and terrible about being an American. And you should accept, this lower standard of living for yourself because we can't do any better. And Donald Trump stood there like the Founding Fathers talked. He spoke like them. He spoke like Teddy Roosevelt with Manifest Destiny. And he talked about what a great country this was. He didn't say anything that was untrue. And I think he put the fear of God, hopefully, in his opponents. And yes, those 3 presidents sitting in front of him. Perry, I tell people all the time, if you can really deepen your understanding and your faith as a Christian, it really is a superpower. Because, God sits here and tells you not to fear anything. Can you imagine facing an opponent that doesn't fear anything, that trusts absolutely in God and has that kind of confidence? Trump talked about that in his speech. He talked about how he felt that his life was safe so that he could make America great again. And this is a different opponent that the left is facing this time around. And I just don't think he can be defeated. I don't think it's all going to be easy. He's not Jesus. There are going to be mistakes made. But I just think this is a different president we're seeing right now. I think we're lucky to have this type of president that's going to push back because of the severity of the state of the country right now. We need somebody with that kind of faith and strength.
To that point, Drew, it appears, to your point, he's back in office. He knows the drill. He's been there before. He had a 4-year hiatus. He's back in office. He's put back in office with an incredible mandate. He is driven, but he also seems to be more relaxed about it. Like,
oh man,
I don't need to face anybody. I'm just going to get this done.
Yeah, he does seem relaxed. I saw him even. He's fun. He's even funnier. I thought he was funny before, but he's even funnier. A few examples. He kind of resists. Like, he doesn't feel like he has to bite people's heads off anymore. And I don't think he was wrong to do it. If you're going to be disrespected and treated like he was by the media and these Congress pronouns, he's absolutely right to defend himself. Some people didn't like that, and I understand that too. People want a certain behavior from a president, but when he went and attended and got set up at that national prayer service, and that, Episcopalian fraud, Marxist masquerading as a bishop, lectured him about mercy. He was asked by the press afterwards, what he thought, and he didn't attack her really. I mean, his response was like funny. It was like, well, I think they could do better. It wasn't a great service. I mean, anybody could see it wasn't well delivered. She's not very talented, effective. He didn't say that, but that was the takeaway. And I thought, man, who is this guy? He's just, he's not up tweeting at 2 a.m. feeling like he's got to get the last word on things. He just kind of moves along, and yeah. I mean, there's conviction, I think, this time, real conviction.
What do you think is ahead, Drew?
Ahead for Trump?
Yeah, and I think the country as a whole.
Yeah. I think marvelous things are in store for us. I think that this is going to challenge the individual Americans' own convictions, right? We elected Trump to do these specific things. For example, we elected him to deport these illegals even, right? I mean, he wasn't shy about it. He's doing what he said he was going to do. He pardoned the J6 protesters, nearly all of them. We elected him to do that. And now the media, of course, is coming back with their predictable counter narratives and their opposition, trying to condemn the action and get you to apologize and condemn Trump for it. But we elected Trump to do that. And so these next 4 years are going to test how willing we are to take the slings and arrows for Trump and for integrity and principle and what's right. That bishop that, for example, lectured Trump about mercy, defending transgender. I mean, she created a fake issue. She is a Marxist. She's a Democrat activist pretending to be, a bishop. But the response out there from your friends or liberals you might still know was so predictable. I like in my child's Sunday school class, we teach about mercy. This is the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, this and that. And these people have no actually concept of Scripture. But you're going to deal with these people, and they're going to try and take the moral high ground and beat you down and condemn you for what Trump's doing. And it's our responsibility over the next 4 years to defend Trump and not buy the false premises of the left, because this needs to happen. We are actually morally correct in taking care of our nation and our own poor and the state of things here. And, that's the test.
For those of us who run businesses and ministries, to see DEI go away with the strike of his great big marker, and it ended the other day at 5 o'clock, including the agency's committees that were put together to manage DEI. This is a huge deal, at least from my perspective. What do you think?
Well, it is huge because DEI effectively was poison to the nation, because America is great because of American exceptionalism, right? That's the belief that you, Perry, me, those in this audience can transcend our own reality, right? That which other people deem to be impossible, we believe is totally possible, and so perfect example of that, when Trump was leaving office the last time, even as he came in, John Kerry and Obama had said on the record that, peace in the Middle East was impossible. Nobody could achieve it. Don't even bother trying it. Just let the status quo happen. And then Donald Trump came in, and he doesn't think that way. He said, no, I'm going to do these Abraham Accords, and he did. I mean, he did exactly what John Kerry and others told him was not possible. And so DEI is, it's not a meritocracy. It's rewarding people based on a number of artificial factors, your skin color or oppression or this and that. And that's not what makes America great. What makes America great, of course, and unique. And no country can rival us because of this belief. That's why we are what we are, is this exceptionalism. And DEI was the opposite of that.
Well, it's a huge thing, and I have to tell you, he probably did more for small business by getting rid of DEI than anybody could possibly imagine, because we were just basically one lawsuit away from being wiped out.
Yeah, now you can just hire the best, hire what you need, not what the government tells you have to hire based on those very factors, skin color or, genitalia or, gender selection of 30 different pronouns or whatever on a list.
Well, listen, you are a new dad. You're not getting any sleep, and congratulations, and yeah. That's wonderful. So let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his website, drewallen.substack.com. And there's the picture of that landing page. You can check out his book because it's still very informative. America's Last Stand, Will You Vote to Save or Destroy America 2024? There's a picture of that cover on the book. A lot in there and still relevant today. Drew, thank you, friend. God bless you, pal. Stay in the fight.
Thanks, Perry. God bless you, too. Thanks as always.
All right.